Good afternoon, everybody. If you didn't get a handout, there should be enough. I think I did 120. So for some married couples, you may want to share, or people that are closer than married couples, or almost as close as married couples, or engaged couples, or people like that, or people who just like each other. You might just do one for the two of you. But if they're singles, please help yourself to one each. Gerald's handing them out as you come in, and our ushers back there. I'm going to go ahead and ask God's blessing on the presentation, since we already asked his dismissal before, since we always ask a blessing on classes in the afternoon and in the morning. So I'll go ahead and ask. If you want to rise, I'll go ahead and do it. Almighty Father in heaven, thank you very much for your wonderful Sabbath day. Thank you for a day of rest. Thank you for a time of recognition of you as our God and Creator, our Maker, and the one who loves us and cares about us so much. We ask your blessing now as we study your word, to study a very important topic, a very important subject that's vital to understand, so that we can be able to put into practice that love for our fellow human beings as well as our love for you. So we ask your guidance and direction now and inspiration on the speaking and hearing, turning this service over into your hands and asking your inspiration in Jesus' name. Amen. Well, good afternoon to you, and thank you for staying for an extra shot in the arm or wherever direction that might come from. I'm going to do a presentation for you that I've developed originally for a women's retreat in Pennsylvania back in 2004. And they liked it so much, the ladies, they said, you ought to do this for all the churches, you ought to do this for all the people. Well, I was already teaching students a very abbreviated section in ABC about self-esteem. Now, let's go through and talk about this, because you're going to see what the self-esteem, to have or not to have. Some people, when they hear the term self-esteem, they immediately freeze up and say that's vanity, that's ego, that's not for me, I'm a Christian, I'm supposed to belittle myself, I'm supposed to put myself down, I'm supposed to criticize myself, I'm supposed to give myself a whitewash brush if I think I did a good job on anything. I'm always supposed to be critical. After all, when I grew up, my parents told me when I did wrong, and they expected me to always do right. I cannot tell you how many people I have seen and talked to and counseled of all ages whose self-esteem needed so much of a boost in life, whose quality of life suffered immensely because they did not have healthy self-esteem. And self-esteem is something all ages need. And the key to understanding it is godly self-esteem. We're not talking about the Norman Vincent Peale, look yourself in the mirror and say every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. We're talking about healthy self-esteem. But let me not get ahead of myself. What is self-esteem? So if I were sitting in a classroom, we had lots of time to discuss it, I would say, what is it? What do you think it is? And we get different people's opinion. But what is self-esteem? Here's what it is. Self-esteem is how you feel about yourself. It's your self-image. It's how you see you. And self-esteem has to do with the thoughts and feelings you have about yourself. So if they're negative thoughts and feelings, I'm no good, I'm rotten, I'm no good, who would ever like me? Who would ever want to be nice to me? I'm rotten, I'm no good. Who wants to be around somebody who thinks that way about him or herself? Now, is there a time to think about yourself as being rotten and no good? Yes, before baptism. And is there a time to say that act that I did was rotten and no good? Yes, after you sin. But see, I believe God. I believe that when I go into the prayer closet, whether I crawl in like a worm or whether I go in with my head down and say, God, I'm so sorry I did this. Please forgive me. I guess I'm naive enough or simple enough to believe that when I ask God to forgive me, that he really did. And so when I walk out of my prayer closet, I can walk out and say, I'm okay. I'm okay. I don't have to live this down. I don't have to keep beating myself after I walk out of there with a wet noodle or whatever other punishment I might assign to myself. I can walk out of there believing. But how you see yourself regularly is your self-esteem. Now, I can tell you, people have a lot to do with your self-esteem. People have a lot to do with helping you build it. And people can have a lot to do with helping you wreck it. But you have something to do with it as well. What are some thoughts people have about self-esteem when you bring up the topic? Oh, that's just vanity. Thinking good about yourself. Who should think good about yourself? You shouldn't think. So what should you think about yourself? Bad? I'm a bad person. I'm no good. I'm ugly. I'm terrible. I'm stupid. And I know one girl told me when she was taking my class at Ambassador College, she was making A's. And I said to her, boy, you're doing good in my class. Yeah, but I'm not a very good student. Who told you that? You're making A's. Some people are making B's, C's, D's, and F's. This was in Ambassador College. And she said, I said, who told you you were not a good student? When she was a little girl, her second or third grade teacher told her, you'll never amount to anything. All because her dad had gone in and talked to them about unleavened bread. And I guess some fuss came up about Easter or whatever else. And that teacher took it out on the little girl and told her, you'll never amount to anything. And that thought stuck with her. And here she was, a 24, 25-year-old woman with a couple of children already in Ambassador College. She was coming to Ambassador College. Her children were being babysat while she was at school. And she was making good grades. And I said, who told you? Do you know how special you are? How few people ever go to Ambassador, any college, and you're already a junior in college, and you've made through 3 years already, and you say you're not a good student? Who told you that? So you have to unlearn some things that people said. So is it vanity to say, you know what? I did a good job today. Is it vanity to say, you know what? I polished that sink really well. I mowed that lawn really good. Is that vanity or is that reality? I played basketball my junior and senior year in high school, and I was on the starting team. And somebody said, can you play basketball? Oh, I don't know if I can play basketball. Yes, I can play basketball. Now, am I saying I'm the best basketball player in the world? No. Am I saying that I was the top star? No. But if somebody says, can I play basketball? Yes. Do you play basketball? Yes. Do you play very good? Yes, I play good. Is that vanity or is that being honest? False modesty is just what it says, false. God wants us to be genuine. Some say self-esteem is ego. It's just ego. It's all about building ego. You know what? As Freud understood it, there are three parts, three components of your personality. There's the ego, there's the id, and there's the superego. The ego is the moderate you. The id is the playful kid, the impulsive one. And the superego is the one that is the critical parent, not a loving parent, a critical parent. Put you down. For instance, if I say to myself, boy, I really worked hard today, I think I'll stop and get an ice cream. That's the id in me. My ego says, yeah, Gary, you did work hard. It'll be okay. Have an ice cream. The superego said, do you know how many calories are in that? Have you stopped and eat that? Do you know how many calories you're going to get on eating that ice cream? And it's not good for you. And it might congest you, and you might get congestion. And besides, you might get polio by eating hot, ice, cold things in hot weather. It'll criticize me. It'll put me down. So some people, and you know what? You need all three. Sometimes you need to be impulsive. Sometimes you need to be moderate. Sometimes you need to be critical. If I say, well, I don't feel like keeping the Sabbath this week, I think I'll, beg off on it this week. Superego says, don't do it. God says, that's a good time to have the superego kick in. But some people have a very, very well-developed superego. They constantly beat themselves up. Verbally, mentally, emotionally. I'm no good, I'll never make it, I'm stupid. Ever do some things and say to yourself, that I'm stupid? Never say that to yourself. You can say that was stupid, fine. But don't say you're stupid, unless you really are. Most of us are really not. So ego, another thing they say, self-centered. If you have self-esteem, you're just self-centered, that's all you do is think about yourself. Just the opposite. Just the opposite. People without good self-esteem are thinking about themselves a lot. Some say it's a sin. It's a sin to feel good about myself. It's a sin for me to feel that I'm a decent human being. That's a sin. I should just feel I'm a rotten rat. God, that makes God feel good. Now, there are books out there that constantly promote self and allure, and you can see the whole bookshelf I walked through. These are just 3 of them that I picked out a few years back. But you could go through the bookshelves and you could see them, and there is the people trying to puff themselves up, lift themselves up by their own bootstraps, and that is vanity. So there is vanity out there with it for sure. Self-esteem, biblically speaking. Let's take a look and see. What does God say about this? Does God value you? Remember what we said? The value you place on you. Does God value you? John 3:16. For God so loved the world. And where were you before God called you? In the world or of the world? For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son. Does God love you? Matthew 6:26. Matthew 6:26 tells you of the love of God when Jesus Christ was explaining on the Sermon on the Mount. He said, behold, the fowls of the air, for they don't sow, neither do they reap, nor gather in barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much better than they? God says, you're precious to me. He looked at everything he had created on the earth, and what did he say? It is very good, including human beings. It is very good. God said in Leviticus 19:18, you should love your neighbor as yourself. We kind of go over that fast. Love your neighbor as yourself. You know, do you read what it says? Love your neighbor as yourself. I'll tell you, I maintain, unless you have a healthy love for who you are, you will have a very difficult time helping other people feel that you love them. You see, if I don't know what it is to do good by me and for me, how can I know how to do good by and for you? There are some people I have known that can never, ever give anybody a compliment. They just can't. It's just not in them. They can't say, that was a really nice job. You did a really good job today. Thanks, I appreciate that. They can't do it because they don't know how it feels themselves. They don't know how it feels. Leviticus 19:18. New Testament, of course, Ephesians 5:28 and 29, Matthew 22:39 tell us to love our neighbor as ourselves. Do you love yourself? No, that doesn't mean you grab yourself, oh, I love you, love you, love you, love you, you know, and hug yourself. I'm going to give myself a self-hug. But it does mean you treat yourself kindly. It does mean a healthy respect for who you are. It does mean you have value and you realize you have value and you don't throw yourself away to anyone. Why do you think so many bad marriages come up? Because individuals say, well, nobody would ever want me, so if somebody thinks I'm handsome, I'm going for that, whether it's good for me or not. Because they do not have self-esteem. They don't know that they have a future. They don't know that they have much value. So here's the principle. How can you love others as yourself if you don't have a proper respect and love for yourself? How can you? How can you give what you don't got? How can you pass on to others what you don't understand and don't have? The beautiful rose. Self-worth comes from one thing, a belief that you are worthy. Are you worthy? Are you worth something? Yeah, Son of God, Jesus Christ gave himself for us. I'd say you're worth a lot. And David was not afraid to say, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. You'll see that later on. So what is vanity then? So if we're talking about love, what is vanity? What is vanity? Vanity has no lasting value. It means it's like chasing after a wind. Hey, there's a wind blowing out there. Let me go catch it. Anybody catch a wind lately? Vanity is likened to the wind. Ecclesiastes 1:2, and 9:9. Vanity is likened to the wind. Chasing after it. It's here now and gone. It just blows through. It's gone. Nothing lasting. Now, you do some things that are vanity. And God says, you should enjoy life with your husband or wife all the days of the life of your vanity. What he means is that life is not going to be sustained forever. A lot of things we do. You ate dinner tonight or ate some snacks. I ate a few snacks as well. Is that going to stay with you for the rest of your life? Probably not. You'll be hungry later tonight, or you'll be hungry tomorrow morning for breakfast. It didn't stay, did it? You ate it. It's not lasting. But vanity is feelings and thoughts about yourself that are not lasting. Vanity says, I'm the prettiest. Nobody prettier than me. That's why I don't try to tell my kids, you're the smartest kid in school. Nobody's smarter than you. Now, don't build them up that way. Tell them, I'm really proud of you when you study hard and work hard, and I'm really pleased with the grades that you received. And you're very smart, and I'm proud of you. But if you say, you're the prettiest, you're the smartest, you're the best, you set them up. That's vanity. Nobody better than me. Vanity says, I'm the best. And God doesn't like that, because when nations and cities say, I am, and there's no one else beside me. Now, Muhammad Ali was a great fighter. There's no question about that. And I think he did a lot of his build-up. But to say, I'm the greatest, I am the greatest, I am the greatest, and then have, who was it, Sonny Liston or something, hit him in the jaw and knock him down. And now he's suffering with Parkinson's disease. Not that I say that's necessarily a curse from God. But the point being, don't go out and say you're the greatest. Don't go out and say you're the best. There's nothing wrong with saying I did a good job. There's nothing wrong with saying I did good. Nothing wrong with putting on your shirt, tie, and say, oh, that looks really nice. Is there anything wrong with that? Nothing wrong with that. Everything wrong with nobody looks better than me. That's vanity. That's vanity. Vanity says I'm humble and proud of it. And there are some people that are poor and proud of it. I'm poor and proud of it. I'm one of God's poor folks, and I'm proud of that. Then you're not, you have vanity too. You don't have to be rich to have vanity. You can be poor and have vanity. Vanity is a chasing after wind. It's trying to satisfy that craving to understand and be something by some false means. How does self-esteem affect you? Why is it important? Why are we even talking about it? Higher positive self-esteem gives you a brighter outlook on life. You see, when you have good self-esteem, you know what you can see in life? You see the sun and not the clouds. You see the beautiful blue sky and not that dark cloud on the other side. You see the silver lining. You are able to see good. I like to tease my class and I say, some people have such low self-esteem, so critical of everything, that they even go see The Sound of Music and they gripe because nuns are singing in that particular movie. You see those nuns out there? What are they doing singing? Well, because nuns sing, you know. Nuns do sing. They have voices, vocal cords, and they have voice boxes. They do sing. And to acknowledge they sing good is not a crime and not a sin. But some people, they would never let you enjoy a movie like that because they tend to see the dark, the low, whatever they could point out. They make life miserable for others. High self-esteem gives you a brighter outlook on life. You're more willing to take chances. I know of people who never try something new. If you've seen the movie Back to the Future, remember George McFly. He was writing this story, this fictional story, and his son later on, who's back in the future, he says, can I read what you have? Oh, no. Why? Well, what if you wouldn't like it? See, self-esteem says, you know what, I wrote this. I think it's pretty good. You read it. You don't like it? Fine. You're allowed not to like it, and I'm allowed to like it. Because you don't like it, it's not going to make me feel bad. That's good self-esteem. He didn't have it. Oh, well, what if they wouldn't like it? He said, well, go ask her for a dance. Well, what if she would turn me down? So what? You're going to get a lot of no's in life, N-O. You're going to get a lot of people tell you no. If you're a salesman, you're probably going to get lots of no. And that's okay. Life is not intended to be an easy path, but it's how you look on that path. People with high self-esteem are more willing to take chances. They're more willing to try something new. Well, I wouldn't want to try something new. What if I would fall? People would laugh at me. I couldn't handle that. I'm thankful my parents helped me to have some self-esteem because in Canada, I had to hold on to my wife and clutch the boards to learn how to skate. And I'm ice skating. Here I am, this 26-year-old, clutching the wall, and these little kids are gliding around on the ice, and I'm feeling pretty foolish. But my wife was holding my hand and helped me, and I persevered and learned how to skate so that I could skate forward. Never learn to skate backwards, so don't ask me to be on your hockey team because I'll never be able to defend you, okay? So, bye. Are you leaving us? She has good self-esteem already anyhow. She doesn't need it, so. Okay. Take care. So try new opportunities, and you could try them if you have good self-esteem without worrying about it. So I tried it. How do you learn to do anything new anyway? Is everybody good at something the first time you try it? Not unless you're a natural. You're not going to be good at it. And then you can give others appreciation. If you have good self-esteem, you can give others appreciation. Why? Because you feel good about who you are, you can give out of that. But if you don't feel good about who you are, you can't. And there are loads of parents who have low self-esteem that can never tell their kids they did a good job. And you know, can't tell themselves they did a good job. Little kids. That's why it's so important for those of us who are older that we learn to be able to give out to our children. Recognize, and then with high self-esteem or self-esteem, you can recognize your own achievements and others' achievements. The Apostle Paul said, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, which is a very bold self-esteem statement. I can do all things. When our girls were learning how to play softball, they went to an I can do session. They had softball players that came teach them how to play softball. And the one they had put on their shirts, I can do, I can do. Half the fight is believing you can do it. High self-esteem reacts positively. It sees the good in others and it sees the good in yourself. Sees good. Doesn't mean it doesn't see bad, but it's where it focuses. It sees good. Will generally be more productive. Why? Well, you don't have all these hindrances. I don't know if I could do a good job at that. I wonder what the boss is going to think. You just get in and do it. You'll generally be more productive. You'll be able to learn from mistakes that are made. You know what? If I make a mistake and somebody corrects me, I won't make that mistake again. Good. But I'm afraid because I might make a mistake. I wouldn't want anybody to tell me I did anything wrong. Do you know, I know of some people that if you tell them they do wrong, they think they are a mistake. If you say, you know, you made a mistake over here, you know what they say? I am a mistake. You're not a mistake. You make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. But people with self-esteem, good self-esteem, they can handle that. It doesn't destroy them. People with low self-esteem, it destroys them. You'll feel you are lovable. Who wants to love something that's doesn't feel good about herself or himself? You won't. You don't. You'll feel you're lovable. I'm a lovable person. That's what you'll feel. Why? Because you're decent. You see good in life. You have bright outlook in life. And people will see that in you too. But if I say, I'm no good, I'm rotten, who would ever want to be around me anyway? Who would ever want to meet me? I'm no good, I'm not good looking, I'm dumb, I'm stupid, I'm rotten. You know what? You send off signals and everybody says, who wants to be with rotten, no good, ugly? And everybody's beautiful in his or her own way. I believe that. Lower negative self-esteem means one thinks or feels of himself as worthless, incompetent, I can't do it, ineffective, afraid to make a mistake or be wrong, and unlovable. Who would ever want to love me? I'm worthless. I'm no good. I'm ineffective. I am a mistake in life. And you know what? God never made any mistakes. And who He created. And He created us in so many different varieties and so many different types. How self-esteem affects us. Negative self-esteem usually sees the bad or the wrong in things. It becomes difficult to appreciate others. Why? Because you're looking for the wrong. You're looking for the wrong things. Why? Because you look for the wrong things in you. You're used to looking for wrong. If you're used to putting yourself down, what's the greatest thing you could do for someone else? Put them down. Not lift them up. And you know people that when you're around them and you leave them, you feel better off. And you know of people that when you're around them and you leave them, you feel down. Why is that? Because you're around people with good self-esteem, who feel good about life, who have a bright outlook, who are happy about living, who feel good about who they are, and they help you feel good about who you are. Simple. It causes a person to be hard on themselves, never measuring up to their own high standards. 1 John 3:20 says, sometimes our own hearts condemn us when God doesn't. Some people are so hard on themselves, God's not condemning you for that. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Sometimes we equate making a mistake with sin. If I wrote the wrong word in one of these, did I sin? I made a mistake. But some people are so hard on, oh, God must be so mad at me because, you made a mistake. I mean, my King James Bible, occasionally there are a few little statements here and there, as far as not truth, but as far as little misprintings. Do I condemn God for that? No, God didn't write it. I know Oxford Bible or whatever printed it. But don't condemn yourself to sin because you made a mistake. I'm not perfect. God must not be happy with me. I made a mistake. They will generally not be as productive. Why? Because they're too worried about failing. Too worried about not doing it well enough. Too worried about how they're going to feel if somebody finds out what they did or didn't do. They will generally have difficulty with relationships. Low self-esteem is not a good measure for good relationships. In fact, it will hinder us. Why should you have high self-esteem? Because the more positive your feelings are about yourself, higher your self-esteem is. Positive feelings. Does that mean there are no negatives? Oh, there are negatives. But the person with good self-esteem sees the negatives and says, you know what? I'll overcome that. Or says, you know what? That part is not important to me. Now, it's not important to me if I ever learn to skate backwards well. My wife could skate backwards, but I couldn't. Great. She's better than I am. Does that crush me? Doesn't crush me. It's not that important that I learn to skate backwards, to me. Now, if I were going to be a hockey player, that would be important. Not going to be a hockey player, it's not important. So there's some things in life that you can't do. It's okay. It's okay. That you can see you didn't do right. I'm not very good at math. I'm not very good at art. My students, former students, can tell you of my great drawings on the board when I try to illustrate something by drawing some particular character. They have to use their imaginations really, really well to tell. And I have to tell them what it is first, and then their imagination can kick in. And that's okay. I'm not good at art. You can admit what you're not good at. Now, if it's really important for me to be good at art, I can go study it more and hope that maybe some semblance of ability will kick in somewhere in one of my right or left arms. But overall, I'm not good at art. You can admit it. The more negative you are, the lower your self-esteem. The more negative you are about yourself and about life, lower your self-esteem. Self-esteem is not something that is achieved and does not need any more attention. Okay, I got it. I made it. Here I am. I crossed the finish line, and you get a winner's circle. You now have self-esteem. That isn't what it says. It isn't what it's about. But generally, you'll be either going this way or going that way, or you'll generally be here and up and down, or you'll be here. It really does depend on you. Self-esteem is something that fluctuates. So if I go into my boss and my boss chews me out, my self-esteem will take a tumble. But it won't plummet. Why? Because I feel and understand who I am. I'm not going to feel so good if I get chewed out for something. Self-esteem will affect the way you live. It really will affect how you live life. Either in a challenging, bright, accepting, healthy way, or in a very unhealthy way. Self-esteem affects how you think, and this one I love, this statement, notice it. Self-esteem affects how you think about yourself and others. It's not just about you. Because if you don't feel good about who you are, you're not going to be able to tell others that they feel good. You're not going to be able to help them. You're not going to be able to reach out to them because you're so busy trying to battle yourself and who you are. Self-esteem affects how you think about yourself and others. It also affects how you feel about yourself and others. It is important to feel. It's important to feel good about you, and it's important to feel good about others. Because if you feel bad about who you are and what you are, you're going to have a very difficult time feeling good about others. Self-esteem will affect how successful you are in achieving your dreams and your goals. If you have a I can do it attitude, you're going to say, I can do it. I can do that. I'll try that. Hey, that's a new good thing. I'll try that. Not sinful things, okay? Rule that out. But things that are good and right and decent. I'll try that. Hey, that looks like a good thing to do. I'll try it. They're not afraid of failing. Others say, I don't know if I want to try that or not. What if I fall? People laugh at me. What if I stumble? How will I feel? You know how you'll feel? I'll get back up. Your knees might hurt a little bit, but you'll get back up. I don't know about you, but I don't know how you were taught how to ride a bike. Now, my dad, or whatever, my older brother, I think it was my dad, ran behind me, and as I got on the bike, and ran behind me and pushed me, and I was hopefully in a yard, so if I was going to fall, I would fall over into the yard until I got my balance. Once I had my balance, I was able to just move right along. He pushed me, and away I'd go. But you had to take a few tumbles before you learned. And I said, I don't want to do that. I'm liable to fall. I would have never learned how to ride a bike. It's important. Self-esteem affects how successful you'll be because how you look on life. And I can tell you, you'll see some pictures here in a moment. Some of the influencing factors are experiences and personal relationships. That's what influences you. Experiences and personal relationships you've had at home. How were you treated at home? Did your parents encourage you? We had my daughter's grand dog, our grand dog, a Shih Tzu, stayed with us for about 14 days while they were traveling to Texas and going to pick up their daughter from camp and so on. So we kept her. Regularly, I'd say, what a good little dog you are. You're such a good girl. You're such a sweet... the dog responds. She's a sweet little dog. She's good to us. She loves us. It didn't bother me to say, what a good little dog. I can't tell there's a good dog. I don't think I'm any good. How can I tell her she's any good? And you encourage people. If you're able to notice what good they do and you encourage it, wow, thank you for that. What a nice job you did. What a good job doing that. That's all positive. But at home, if you don't get that, and I'll tell you something, you want to do harm to a little kid, have them bring a paper home. Oh, look, Mommy, look what I did. Look what I did at school today. I brought this home just for you. And the mom looks at, well, what is that anyway? I can't tell. I just look a bunch of lines. What are those things anyhow? What is that, a cow? Oh, no, Mommy, that's the sun, the moon, the stars. Oh. Well, nice try. Throw it in the garbage. What do you think that little kid feels? Like trash. Little kids really need parents to love them and encourage them. And if they are told the good that they do, doesn't mean they aren't corrected. Nobody's trying to soft soap anybody. But if all they are corrected, their life's not going to be a very happy one. So our experiences and personal relationships at home, children with parents, husbands with wives, wives with husbands, children with relatives, aunts and uncles, at school. How are you treated at school? A lot of our children, because they're in the church, they go to school and they can't do this and they can't play that on Friday nights and they can't do this and they can't do that. And unleavened bread, you come and you bring your unleavened bread and your cheese and everybody watch you eat these things as they crumble around your cheese and crumble, fall down and crumbles and they're eating their sandwiches and wondering why you can't. Or you're invited to your friend's place and their mom makes a nice ham dinner and you can't eat that. All the things that occur to us as we grow up, the negativity that comes our way, that can hurt us, our experiences and personal relationships. At work, on the job, your experiences with your boss, your fellow employees, and personal relationships with them all have to do with how your self-esteem is. At social activities and social events, if you're the last one, you're the one sitting there, you're the wallflower every time. Anytime there's a dance, everybody else gets asked and you sit there. How does that make you feel? Not very good. If you're the last one chosen at a volleyball game, pickup game, you're the last one chosen every time. This one girl said to me, how come I'm the last one chosen every time? I said, because you're not good. But I was nice to her, but I said, you know what? If you want to be good, buy yourself a volleyball and practice. You can't just show up and not know how to do anything and ask somebody to show you how and practice with you. If you want to be good, you can be good. But the reason you're not picked is because you're not good right now. That's reality. Again, a person with high self-esteem says, you know what? I need to change and grow. Little children look for self-esteem from others, and that's a big key. They don't know how to give it to themselves. Parents have a great responsibility in this area to encourage their children, to tell them good things, to let them know they're appreciated, that they're loved. How many times have I seen people say, that little baby's just crying because it wants attention? Yes, I know big adults who cry and want attention. They just want to be held. Yes, I know big adults who want to be held. There's nothing wrong with a baby wanting to be loved. Nothing at all wrong. Now, if a baby's in a bad mood and a bad attitude, and, you can tell the cry. Parents can tell the cry. They're just really, they're not crying, like they want to be held. They're really like it's almost a rebellious cry. Then you have to deal with that. But for a baby to want to be held, nothing wrong. Well, she just likes to be held all the time. Good for her. She's going to be a loving person. She's going to be a lovable child. Don't push them aside and push them off. Ask little children, hey, come on over, let's read a story. Come on over and read a story to me. Hey, did you look at this? Play with your children. Let them see that you care and comment on the good things that they do. Teachers have an effect too. I think Mr. Salcedo could probably tell. There are teachers that make the difference in the lives of students. When our girls, my daughter Jan was in grade 4, I think it was, her class in Ontario, Canada, that 4th grade class was small, and the 3rd grade class was a smaller one. And they actually had 2 classes in the same room. So a teacher was trying to do both 3rd and 4th grade at the same time. And my daughter's grades just plummeted. She was good at writing, that was not good. She was good at spelling, that wasn't any good. Because the teacher did not give them enough attention. And she liked attention. We moved to California, Arcadia schools, talked to the teacher there, explained a little bit about where she was coming from. Her grades went right up. Teachers make a difference. How they treat your children makes a huge difference. Schoolmates do too. If your kids are picked on, and again, if they don't have good self-esteem from home, they go to school looking awkward, walking awkward, not having many skills. So if you expose your children to doing things and they have skills when they go to school, they'll be admired. Oh, they may not be able to play on the Friday night basketball team, but if they're one of the best players in town because they practice at home, they have good work ethic, they'll probably be able to squeeze by. And if not, they'll be admired for their sports ability and for their character. They'll be admired for both. Relatives have an influence. Do you ever have a favorite uncle or an unfavorite one or an aunt? For years I told the students I never liked red hair and blue eyes because my one aunt had red hair and blue eyes. And she was the one that while I was eating a hot dog, was pork, so I was glad she pulled it up before I was in the church. Hot dog and French fries. She was mad at my parents for something. She walked up, grabbed the plate and all right from the counter and threw it in the garbage can. I never liked red hair and blue eyes for a long time. That aunt, just needless to say, was not one of my favorites. I had an uncle who every time I saw him, he would pick on me. So when he would be around, I made myself scarce. I've had other uncles who were just totally loving and kind. And not only were they nice to me and my wife, they were nice to our children. And every time we visited Pennsylvania, visited my parents in Pittsburgh, they would come over to see them. And they would love them. And they would be kind to them. And they would speak to them and talk to them and bring them gifts and do nice things. Relatives have influence on them. Self-esteem changes over time. It changes over time. So again, it doesn't just stay the same, I've got it. It changes. But you can have much to do with how it changes. Look at this. Look at these two. Little baby, you can see that baby. Looks so cute and smiley. You could see their affect. See, you could tell that they feel good about life. Low self-esteem may lead to lack of confidence, poor performance, distorted views of self and others. Because I have a distorted view of me, I have a distorted view of you. I don't know what looks good and what doesn't. And look good can look bad and bad can look good. Unhappiness in your personal life. Look at this. Dear diary, sorry to bother you again. Now that's the ultimate in low self-esteem. Even the diary makes them feel bad. And see, look at the blank look on this girl's face on the left. And on the right, you see the one girl's sad at that time, and then you see her happy at another time. But the one on the left, the little child, this one, I would worry about that child. Just the look on their face, unless something just happened that they hurt. If that's how they normally look, I would say that child's not being nourished emotionally. High self-esteem then leads to enrichment in life, confidence, flexibility, acceptance of challenges. Look at the joyful feelings of success. Children can actually jump up. I did something good. Way to go. That's good for them to be able to experience that. They hear accomplishment. They can feel that accomplishment. They don't say, well, I did it, but I could have done it better. They just feel good. They made it, the medal. Children who succeed and are taught something, some skill, and they learn, hitting a baseball or hitting a ball in this wiffle ball over here on the right, you could see them learning. And when you learn skills, it makes you feel confident in life. Impact of high self-esteem: honest, open, healthy, keep fit, flexible, creative, lack of fear, independent, seek a challenge, stimulation. They are assertive, and they build nourishing rather than bad relationships. They see oneself in a positive, courageous light. They see oneself in a positive, courageous light. How they look on life. See, it's looking on life. It's not trying to live a false dream. It's how they see, you know what, I can stir myself, I can get up, I can do that. Improving self-esteem. It may be changed by personal growth. So you can have something to do with yourself. You don't have to stay wherever you are. Steps you can take. Pray for help to improve. God, I want to be the best person I can be in your sight. I want to be the best Christian, the best daughter, the best son, the best father, the best mother. I want to be the best friend. Help me. You can identify strengths and weaknesses. David said in Psalms 139, verse 14, I am fearfully and wonderfully made. He didn't say I'm rotten. Man after God's own heart said, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. He identified his strengths. You can identify both. You could say, you know, I'm good at this, I'm not good at that. And if it's important for me to be good at what I'm not good at, I can practice. I can try. I can improve. Realize you are made in God's own image. And appreciate the gifts and talents you have. What am I good at? Everybody's good at something. You good at writing? You good at encouraging? You good at listening to others? You good at being with others? Are you good at helping? Are you good at serving? Are you good at cooking? What are you good at? Art? Are you good at dance? You good at singing? You good in music? What are you good at? It's important for you to say, you know what, I'm good at that. Sometimes I'll ask people, tell me who you are. If you want a good lesson, you could just write down, I am. What do you think of you? I am. What are you? What comes out of your mouth first? What do you write down? When you say, who am I? And do you appreciate the gifts and talents you have? Look at this. For children, I like myself. I'm friendly. I'm polite. I listen. I study hard. I take turns. I share. I have a gift. I help. I'm loving, and I'm brave. What's wrong with any of those? I like who I am. Does that mean they're totally satisfied? No. Does that mean you should be totally satisfied? No. Does that mean you don't see any wrong? No. Because people with high self-esteem can also see weaknesses. Say, I need to change this. Increasing your self-esteem involves self-encouragement and activity. Sitting around waiting to feel better about yourself will most likely lead to failure. Take action today. So here's how you can do it. Do something you always wanted to do. Set realistic goals and achieve them. What do I mean, do something you always wanted to do? I always wanted a porcelain doll. Maybe that's what the lady would say. Maybe my daughter, maybe my wife. My parents never bought me one. I'm going to save up money and I'm going to buy myself one. I always wanted somebody to bring me a red rose, but nobody ever did. So I'm going to buy myself one. Take yourself on a walk through the mall and stop and say, you know what? I walked by that Fields cookies, Mrs. Fields cookies, and I always wanted to try that one, but I never did. I'm going to try it today. I'm going to treat myself doing something nice for you. It sends a message throughout your whole system that you matter. Set realistic goals and achieve them. Don't set unrealistic goals. I'm going to overcome this, I'm going to grow through this, I'm going to do that. Then you feel discouraged. Set realistic goals and accomplish them. Cultivate a can-do attitude. In Toronto, we said at the home office, our office in Toronto, our international office up there, we said, we want to have a can-do attitude. If somebody calls, somebody asks for information, even people who call with the wrong number or the wrong organization, don't just say, you got the wrong number. Say to them, I'm sorry, this is not the number you're looking for. May I help you find what you're looking for? Have a can-do attitude, a positive attitude toward life. Have a sense of pride in what you do. It's another great way to build. Whatever you do, do it well. Whatever you do, if you're going to turn in a paper, check the spelling. If you're going to turn in a picture, check the picture. Whatever you're going to do, check it. Make sure you're proud of it. When you finish mowing the lawn, stand back and look. Did you miss a row over here? Take a look. If you missed it, fix it before you're finished. Then look back and say, wow, what a good job I did. Don't be overly critical of yourself. Notice I said overly critical. Certainly we need to criticize ourselves. But if you're overly critical, you're putting yourself down way too much, more than you deserve. And give yourself encouragement and appreciation. One way you can help yourself is think every day. In the evening before you go to bed, did I do one thing good today? Did I do anything that's good today? Sure you did. You went to work. You went to work and you put in a good day's work. Now, there's some employees that didn't do that. There's some that didn't even show up. There are others who came and didn't put in a good day's work. You could say, I did a good job today. I cooked a good dinner today. I cleaned the sink today. I got my prayer and study in today. Give yourself encouragement. Don't be false, but be true. Achievements help boost self-esteem. It says here, sadly, Sarah's entire self-worth is based on her eBay rating. But the point is, she felt good about what she did. Lives like homes need solid foundations. And one solid foundation is good self-esteem. Improving self-esteem, look outwardly. Be alert and compliment. You cannot help others. And by the way, one way to raise your self-esteem is be willing to compliment others. It says miles about you. I tried when I played basketball in high school. If opponent made a good shot, I went down the floor. If I was running down the floor to get in my offensive position, as he was running, I'd say, nice shot. You know why I did that? Because I wasn't afraid of him. Some people, I'll never tell my opponent that they made a good shot. I wasn't encouraging him. I was just letting him know, good job. But I'm going to beat you still, okay? In spite of the fact you did a good job, I'm going to still beat you. Grow in true godliness. As you become more godly, you become more willing to see yourself and see yourself in a positive way. Remember, God gave his son for you. You're worth something. As you improve your self-esteem, you'll be a blessing to all those around you, and particularly if you have children, grandchildren, help them. Grandparents can be wonderful in that way by loving and holding and giving their children, their grandchildren, some sense of being and self. If you have children, help them, talk to them. Talk to each other. If you feel good about who you are, talk to each other. Give encouragement to those around you. As you improve, you'll be a blessing to those around. Remember the scripture, you shall love your neighbor as yourself. So, self-esteem, to have or not to have. Self-esteem is a critical need, and you need to have it in order to pass on the love of God. Godspeed. It's been enjoyable being here with you. spending time with you. Thank you to the Segleys. Thank you to the church out here for letting us come, and we've enjoyed getting to meet and visit with so many of you already here. And we wish you a great rest of the weekend together, and all the young people. Hang in there. Do well. Remember, you can prove what you believe. People who keep Christmas and Easter and all the falsehoods that the world has to offer, the Trinity and all the rest, they cannot prove what they believe from the Bible. You can. Hang in there. Stay strong. Stay tough. And we'll see you one of these days. Hopefully, again, maybe it's Escondido or wherever else. Godspeed.